Now, I will be the first to warn you that this is a pretty complicated procedure, but this is typical of a lot of the types of things that we conquer, that we come up against and have to conquer in Excel. What we've done so far is we copied and pasted some text into this spreadsheet. And I did that behind the scenes, but it was just a pretty straightforward copy and paste. The problem is all of the text here, the numeric values, they all had USD at the end of all of them. After we took that out, they now had all of, each one of them had a couple of spaces at the end, and they're formatted essentially as strings right now. So we still can't perform any math to them. Well, what we did is we went over here and we used the trim function and we removed those spaces. But we're still really having a problem because, let me show you what happens here. The trim function is supposed to remove all the spaces, right? But sometimes, in cases like this, here's what we get. I'm going to do equal sign and value. Value is a function that converts a string into a numeric value. And if you were to select something like that and a close parenthesis, look what I get. I get this dirty, rotten message that means that my formula is not working. Well, let me show you something here real quick. This is the way it's supposed to work. I'm going to format this cell as text and type $300 and 300, just like what we see over here, right? And in this next cell, I'll type equals value, and we'll reference that cell. Close that. Okay, and it gives me a 300, and that's what we expect. So why isn't that working over here? Well, because the value that's left in there is still not just the dollar with the 300 and, the zeros and stuff. And here's how we can tell. When I'm getting this number value with an exclamation, if I click on that cell, I get an exclamation drop down. Click this and go to Show Calculation Steps. This will take you through the whole process so you can see what is really going on. And what you can see is that, in fact, I'll just start the evaluation over. We're referencing M3, which is what our formula says, M3. When this is evaluated, M3, when it's evaluated, it evaluates out to $300 with two spaces still. Okay? And then we continue to evaluate and we get the error. So the problem is that is still looking like it has two spaces. So trim did not eliminate the spaces. Here's how we're going to fix that. We're going to grab some of the other functions that we used before. And in fact, let's go ahead and we can delete all of these values because we don't really need them, because instead we're going to go ahead and reference this directly. Since trim's not doing it for us like it's supposed to, we're going to use something a little bit different. We're going to get a little creative. How about left? Because the left function allows, we know that the problem that we've got is two spaces on the end. The left function allows us to grab characters from the left side, however many characters we specify. So let's go left, and then we have to tell it what text we want to deal with. In this case, it's I3, and I'll just type it in there because it's pretty quick and easy to do. Well, what function will tell us how many characters there are? That's right, the length function. So we do length of I3. And let's go ahead and get rid of these for right now. I don't think we need any of that. But we don't want all of the characters, because if we do that, we pretty much get the same result as in it's going to just, it'll still have the two space characters at the end. So what we want to do is subtract two characters from the length of whatever that cell length is. So now it's going to go out, it's going to go to the left edge, and then however long this is, it'll subtract two characters because we want to get rid of those two spaces, and that's how many characters it'll give us. And it looks identical. It looks the same. The difference is, let me go ahead and wipe these out. The difference is, if I use my value now, value of this is 300. Now I've got a real number, and that means that I can perform arithmetic with it. But the best part about this is I can take that, remember this value function and the other formula that we've got going on? I can nest all of that together. So let's just wrap this all around in the value function. So value, opening parenthesis, skip to the end, closing parenthesis, and there we go. Same result. I can get rid of this one right here. So what that means now is I can take this, click and drag down, and voila, I get the numeric equivalent of all of these, with the currency, and this is all string text, plus I get my sum right here at the bottom. So we used the value function, the left function, and the length function to convert this string into a number. And then we could calculate, perform arithmetic based on those numeric values. And in fact, if I wanted to, I could then format that as currency. And I know this looks very similar here, doesn't it? It's the dollar signs and the numbers, and it's all the same thing. But we have to remember that in Excel, we have numeric values and we have text values or text strings. Text strings can look like numbers, but you can't perform arithmetic on a string, whereas you can perform it on a number. Also, with currencies, if it's a real number, you will see the currency value all the way over on the left edge of the cell, and then there's typically a space in between. And the number itself is justified on the right. With a string value, that's not the case. In the next video, we're going to start to look at interaction between multiple sheets, and then we'll move on to some more complicated math functions.